Have y'all seen what's happening with Duolingo?
If you guys don't know, there's been a lot of drama with Duolingo recently.
Duolingo has lost a lot of the credibility that it formed.
Duolingo is successful not because it's a good app. It's 100% not.
Trying to learn a language with Duolingo is like trying to learn how to play guitar with Guitar Hero.
I've been saying this for 6 years.
There's a lot of pushback. I wonder, what your response is to some of the concerns.
Duolingo have announced they're going to be an AI-first company.
They don't really care about human workers.
We're gonna use AI.
You can definitely tell there have been hits to quality.
And you're gonna learn just the same as you've been learning. And I had friends who were like, I'm not learning anything already.
It's in my family. I'm fighting every day so I can live another.
So Duolingo never really worked before this. It has been very ineffective at teaching languages for the entirety of its existence, but recently they announced that it will not just be getting worse, but will be absolutely terrible.
Duolingo has made this app more and more progressively useless in terms of actual language learning.
They, of course, did not use that language, instead going with the language of an AI-first company.
Not AI-assisted, not AI-enhanced, just AI first.
You don't need to speak any other language to know that AI first means garbage, slop, shit. And also, the price is going up. You're paying more for the garbage slop.
Like, where's all my money going? You're not adding new lessons. You're not improving your courses.
A new app has come out that has all the best elements of Duolingo.
Like what? What were the good elements of Duolingo? That's like saying something includes all the best elements of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. What were the good elements? Uranium. I honestly don't think that anyone is talking about the worst element of all this, and we're gonna get to that. Del 1. Det funkar faktiskt aldrig.
Hola, me llamo Alice. Hola, me llamo Sally. Tengo un gato. Un gato muy bonita. Sí, bueno. ¿Dónde está el banco? Me gusto comida. Mi hermana es muy simpática.
Duolingo has always been known for having little mistakes here or there. They were always very forgivable because it was like, this is just a small team run by some people who really want people to get into language learning.
What? No, yeah, maybe in the early days, but I'm talking like the really early days, when the people using Duolingo were fucking Aztecs. In all seriousness, Duolingo has never been a little startup who couldn't afford to fix mistakes. Even in 2011 when they started, their focus has always been on money, and the mistakes did not cost them money or did not cost them very much money, so they didn't fix them.
And make more money.
And if you're one of those people who thinks, well, no, in the early days, they can't have just been focused on money because it was completely free. Yes, they can still have been focused on money back then. It's just that they have a much longer term view of how to make a lot of money than most of us can fathom. We saw exactly the same thing with something like Facebook. We all know that Mark Zuckerberg is a greedy bastard who wants to rule the entire world. It's very plain to see, but from the early days of Facebook, it was not plain to see. It looked like it was there to help people connect. But you would have to be really stupid to be someone who in 2025 looks back at early Facebook and goes, you know what? It used to really be about connecting people. Now it's just about money. And it's exactly the same story with Duolingo. It was never about teaching the world languages, okay? It was always about making billions of dollars. It's just that from day one, the best way to make billions of dollars was to appear to be your friend.
Duolingo used to be beloved language learning tool. Never because it was like the most amazing, but because it was successful at making people do it. I think that was always the sell. The sell was never, hey, this is the most effective way to learn the language.
Word for word, no. Technically, you're right, Ludwig. That was not the sell. The sell always was and still is the world's best way to learn a language, which is just a little bit stronger and I would argue more bullshit. Okay, so we don't need to do this again. Duolingo doesn't work now, but it actually never really did. I showed that in this video here, which for obvious reasons Evan did not like, but it doesn't really make what I said any less true. But if you didn't watch that video, the quick summary of my argument is, if Duolingo was ever going to work in any obscene amount that you want to name for any person over any length of time anywhere in the world, then it would have worked then and there for Evan in German. Not like Japanese or something, but German. And it would have worked if it worked.
Let's be honest, trying to learn a language with Duolingo is like trying to learn how to play guitar with Guitar Hero. It is pretty close to being that stupid. You will be shocked to know that an app that includes concepts like weekly leaderboards and XP doesn't actually care about your fluency in Spanish.
Yet somehow, I honestly can't believe I'm saying this, it's become worse.
We can't wait until the technology is 100% perfect. We'd rather move with urgency and take occasional small hits on quality. You can definitely tell there have been hits to quality.
Duolingo's dedication to nothing else if not shittiness is impressive. Part 2. It costs a fortune. Here's a quick summary of the history of Duolingo's monetization model. Originally, it was free, and it was billed as being free. Then it was free with ads, and it was billed as being free. Then came their first freemium stage where you could pay not to see ads and some other little perks, and it was billed as being free. Then it was freemium again, but it was kind of pay to win, or at least pay to not have a really crappy experience, and it was billed as being free. And then it was even more pay to win and even more expensive and basically unusable if you didn't pay, and it was billed as being free.
Duolingo is the free, fun, and effective way to learn a language.
People have said that they feel guilty when they miss a day. Some even cry over it, because that streak, it starts to feel like your identity. Most people don't pay for content, they pay to protect their streaks. Things like streak freezes keep your progress safe if you miss a day. If your whole idea of success is tied to a streak number, was the goal ever really learning in the first place?
They don't want to be a language learning app. They want to be Temple Run. And I'm not paying $20 or even $10 a month for Temple Run.
And it was by this stage that whenever I made a comment about Duolingo, like, you know, that it didn't work, I would get a lot of dumbasses in my comments saying, it's free, stop complaining. Newsflash, just because technically there is a free way to use something does not make $20 a month free, and it's not even particularly cheap.
Duolingo have finally removed access to the sentence discussions tab entirely, a move that inarguably has made the site and app worse.
In summary, it's a bad app that you can't learn a language from, and it's getting worse, and it will cost you significant amounts of money for the rest of your life. So I'd like to think that there was the opposite of that somewhere. Well, someone made that. It's called Speakly. I get comments all the time about how there are no good language learning apps. Like, what are we supposed to do without Duolingo? There's nothing else but Speakly.
If you're actually willing to sit down for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour a day in order to try and learn a language, you shouldn't be doing it with Duolingo.
Speakly is, in my opinion, the best language learning app, and it's not even close. And it's really cheap. In fact, there are bits of it you can do for free, and I would not be exaggerating to say that I think the free version of Speakly is better than any paid tier of Duolingo. But what I've been paying for Speakly Premium works out to $1.50 a month. And that's going down with every month because I bought a lifetime subscription like 4 years ago. And even today, in 2025, when a bar of chocolate that I'll probably eat in like 7 seconds is going to cost me like $19, a lifetime subscription to Speakly Premium for life costs $70. $70, one and done. I am being perfectly serious when I say that if it were 4 times that much, I don't think that would be unreasonable. Now, I want you to know that this is sponsored, yes, but not in the usual way that YouTube sponsorships and affiliations work. So I'm going to put the full disclosure on screen. If you want to pause it and read it, you're very welcome to do that. I genuinely want people to read that, but for the people who don't, it's just a waste of time. So just pause it while it's here. Now, honestly, you can listen to what I have to say about it, but what I'd really recommend doing is just trying it with a 7-day free trial, which you can find in the description. But here are some of the reasons that I think Speakly is the very best. Words are taught as though they're individual words, but they always have context, meaning that as you see them come up multiple times, you don't even notice that you're developing a very natural sense of how that word is used, but also how the rest of the other words and the language as a whole is used in general. Contrast this with learning a single word, let's say the dog in French, and a bad app will just go between the English and the French like 40 times. It'll just be like the dog, le chien, the dog, le chien, the dog, le chien, le chien. Whereas Speakly might start out with something like my dog is wet, but you're only asked what the word for dog is. And as you get more advanced, you'll be asked more complicated things. This is already very in line with what we actually know about how languages are learned. And I haven't even talked about my favorite bit yet, which is the listening exercises. But when I say listening exercises, I'm not talking about like j'ai un chien et un oiseau. No, because Speakly is for big boys and girls. So a listening exercise is anywhere between 3 and 12 minutes of good, clean audio spoken by an actual human on a given topic, and there are not questions directly about that exercise because your job is not to be correct about the language, it is to listen to the language.
Kuinka paljon ymmärrät? Hän on 23-vuotias.
2, 2. So I'm not going to lie, for many of you, especially if you're coming straight from Duolingo, Speakly will be a shock to the system. It doesn't treat you like a baby. There will be things that you don't understand. That's the point. That's how you get better.
Uenighetene kan resultere i eskalering av konflikter på arbeidsplassen. Andre teammedlemmer kan begynne å ta parti, noe som kan påvirke stabiliteten i en organisasjon.
There is one big drawback to the app, and that is that it doesn't have that many languages because quality takes time. If it had the language I was learning, I would not hesitate for 1 second. I would download it right now. You can do that with the link in the description or just head to speakly.me. You will get the 7-day free trial so you can see what I'm talking about because you can do as much of it as you like in those 7 days. It's just really, really good. I genuinely recommend it. Do it. But 3. Toxic relationships with Duolingo. I'm probably going to call this video like Duolingo is finished. Of course it's not, right? It's still worth like $23 billion, which is honestly insane to me. For all the people who did commerce in 10th grade at school and firmly believe that the best product always wins every single time, Duolingo had one job. It failed at that job and it made $25 billion. And they've done this by getting millions and millions of people into toxic relationships with Duolingo. It never really worked that well. It's getting worse. A lot of people don't even like using it, but they do anyway. And it's costing them something that they probably can't afford. I don't think that saying some people are in a toxic relationship with Duolingo is at all a stretch.
Because there are actually people who have done Duolingo for years only to travel to a country that speaks the language that they've been trying to learn and not be able to literally do or say anything.
Some of the lessons even feel a bit like ChatGPT-ish, you know? And then they came out and said it. We're going to use AI and you're going to learn just the same as you've been learning. And I had friends who were like, I'm not learning anything already. And honestly, what's the fun of using Duolingo if you could just use any sort of like OpenAI, any sort of AI program to make your own learning course? If it's AI, then what's special about it?
Duolingo knows that it's not good for its customers. They know that. They know that they are not in the business of teaching language. That's kind of their brand now. They're like, oh, we're this self-aware language learning app that doesn't really teach you a language. I saw it in a comment somewhere on YouTube. It said, even Duolingo knows that it's more of a meme than a language learning app. And that's completely true. We can see that they've privated all their Instagram and TikTok videos, and they've turned the owl into this kind of conspiracy theory, Occupy Wall Street kind of character with a third eye. And at some point, probably quite soon, they will make their Instagram and TikTok public again. I'm completely sure of that. They are just openly a social media drama performance now. And they know full well that actual language learners who actually want to learn languages are not using Duolingo and are not watching any of this crap. Duolingo is to language learning as WWE is to serious combat. Like, yes, ostensibly, WWE is fighting, and Duolingo is ostensibly a language learning app. But anyone with half a brain can see that it's all just this big media show now. And so if you would consider yourself a language learner who is more interested in learning a language, but you're still using Duolingo and still getting caught up in all this drama, then I would argue that you're in a bit of a toxic relationship. And yes, I get that that's a pretty heavy thing to say, but let's be honest, we're talking about an app, so it's okay to admit it. I'm sure many people can identify with it.
So if I were you, I would cancel your 500-day streak because you're better than this.
Just stop. It doesn't matter. It's just a silly game. You can stop playing. And if you're learning one of these languages, then I really would recommend Speakly. There's also a bunch of other stuff you can use for those languages and lots of languages. If you're not learning one of those languages and you're learning something else that you want resources for, leave it in the comments and either myself or someone else will get back to you with some resources that you can use. There's lots of stuff to learn languages. I have a much shorter video coming soon about the things that I use to learn languages. Most of them would work for literally any language. Get subscribed and look out for that. We're done here. Lo quiero.